Alright guys, it is time for another horror movie. Today we are looking at the American horror film, Dead End. The story takes place on a highway during the evening. A family of 5 is driving back to their hometown for Christmas. Because of the long journey, everyone quickly falls asleep. Seeing everyone around him dozing off, the driving father cannot help but start nodding off as well. Then he completely falls asleep in a daze. Fortunately, this highway is quite straight and stretches out as far as the eye can see. This allows the father to slack off and sleep for a few minutes. Just then, a large truck comes heading straight toward them. It turns out the father accidentally drives into the oncoming lane. Fortunately, the daughter in the back seat wakes the father up just in time. With some wild steering maneuvers, Frank narrowly avoids the collision with the big truck. Laura, sitting next to him, scolds Frank severely. She tells him that if he is tired, he should let their daughter Marion drive. But Frank is very stubborn, and after getting out to check the car, he gets back into the driver's seat to continue driving. And after the sudden swerve just now, they drift off the main highway into a narrow back road. Frank is a very patriarchal man. To avoid losing face in front of his children, he deliberately claims that he has taken this road before and that it is shorter than the original route. At this moment, Frank glances out of the corner of his eye and suddenly notices a person standing by the side of the road. The person seems to be holding a baby, looking as if something has happened. But when Frank stops the car and backs up, the woman disappears without a trace. Right at that moment, everyone starts looking around the area. A person in white clothes flashes past on the other side, startling everyone. Fuck. Frank tells the woman they are in a bit of trouble and are lost, and he asks if she knows the quickest way back to the highway. But despite his long speech, the woman does not say anything and just stands there. Thinking she is a mute, Brad quickly pulls out his phone to call the police. But after trying for a while, he finds there is no signal and they are out of the service area. Frank remembers they just passed a forest ranger cabin and thinks maybe there is a phone there that can help them. However, the car is already full. Marion is very kind and gives up her seat to get out of the car, saying she wants to get some fresh air and walk there. Along the way, the woman remains completely silent and expressionless. Next to him, Richard also complains to Brad, saying the car smells terrible and has a rotting odor. Brad tells him that maybe the baby pooped themselves. Right after that, they quickly arrive at the cabin. After Frank parks the car, he and Laura walk inside. They find the house is full of dust and looks like it has been abandoned for a very long time. There are also dangerous weapons and knives hanging all over the walls. There is indeed a phone inside, but it is already broken and the buttons do not work at all. Meanwhile, Richard goes into the small woods, takes out a poster of a beautiful woman, and starts pleasuring himself. Over on Brad's side, sitting together with the woman is a bit awkward. He mentions that he is getting married soon and asks the woman for the name of the baby in her arms. The woman remains as cold and aloof as always, completely ignoring him. But 2 minutes later, she smiles and says her child is named Amy, and asks Brad if he wants to hold her. Brad takes the baby and finds it very strange. He notices the baby's head is wrapped tightly in clothes, so he asks the woman if it will suffocate the child. The woman says it is fine because the baby is already dead. When Brad pulls back the clothes to look, he unexpectedly finds it is full of scattered human remains. Oh my God! The scream instantly draws everyone over. As they rush toward the car, they find the 2 people inside have already vanished. Meanwhile, Marion, who is walking down the road, spots a car driving toward her. It is a very old, black sedan. The car looks completely eerie inside and out. It slowly drives right past Marion. Marion suddenly looks terrified because she sees her boyfriend through the car window. He is screaming frantically for her help. Marion does not know what to do at first, so she quickly runs back to the cabin. She tells her father Frank what she saw and that her boyfriend was abducted. Frank quickly drives off to chase them, slamming the gas pedal all the way down. But even after speeding for a long time, they still do not see any car ahead. They wonder if the other car slipped away down some side road. While they are yelling in frustration, Frank suddenly slams on the brakes and stops. He says he feels like he just ran over something. He takes a flashlight from Laura and quickly gets out of the car to check. Marion follows closely behind him, but Frank vomits while blocking them and telling them not to come over. It turns out Brad is already dead. The movie does not show the shot here, but from their expressions, it is clear that Brad died a gruesome death and seems to be dismantled. Seeing this, Marion faints on the spot. Richard quickly supports her and helps her into the car. Then he takes Brad's phone out of his remains. Laura is thrilled to see a signal and quickly calls 911, but there is no police voice on the other end, only a baby crying. There is also a woman desperately calling for help. Terrified, Laura quickly drops the phone. She says they need to leave this place immediately. After driving for a while, a road sign appears ahead. It seems to show a place named Marcotte, but Frank has never heard of it. So he tells Richard to quickly open the map to see where exactly they are right now. But after searching everywhere, the location Marcotte does not appear on the map. Meanwhile, Frank starts arguing with Laura. He blames Laura for insisting on spending Christmas at her family's house. Now the whole family is lost in the forest. But arguing is useless now. Frank decides to just drive to that place called Marcotte to see if there is anything there that can help them. At this moment, the camera shows a panoramic view of their location. The highway is perfectly straight and stretches on endlessly. It is unclear where it leads. At this time, the son Richard is the first to notice something is wrong. He says they have not run into any other cars along the way, wondering if it is a bit too creepy. Furthermore, it is now 7:30. Frank vaguely remembers that when the woman in white got into the car, it was around the same time. Thinking about Brad's gruesome death, Richard comes up with a very bizarre theory. He suggests that maybe they were brought here by aliens to undergo some kind of research. Frank and his wife think he watches too many movies and is just talking nonsense. Just then, Marion in the back seat suddenly wakes up, but she is completely out of it and starts singing a song as if she is being forced, which sounds pretty creepy. Right after that, a baby stroller suddenly blocks the middle of the road. As Frank and his wife wonder who would abandon a stroller out here, Richard proves to be quite brave. He walks straight over to the stroller.
Son of a bitch, I'm gonna kill that kid.
It turns out it is just a prank by the troublemaker. After pushing the stroller away, they quickly hit the road again. But even after driving for over an hour, they still do not arrive at Marcotte. Logically, they should have arrived a long time ago. Frank suspects they are driving in circles and are stuck in an endless loop. The husband turns on the radio to find a station and ease the tension. But what comes out of it is a baby's horrific shriek. Then the couple starts arguing again over a disagreement. Just then, an explosion sounds from beneath their feet, causing the car to veer off with a blown tire. While the father is busy tinkering with the tire, Richard slips into the small woods again. This time, he is not pleasuring himself, but instead takes a rolled cigarette out of his pocket and starts smoking. Based on the previous plot, the substance inside is likely marijuana. After getting an instant high, he starts dancing wildly in the woods. While he is grooving along, a woman suddenly flashes in front of Richard. It is the woman from earlier who vanished after calling for help. The woman quickly covers Richard's mouth and tells him not to speak. Then she passionately kisses him on the mouth, being very aggressive. Richard cannot resist at all and thoroughly enjoys it. But as they keep kissing, the woman suddenly uses force and mutilates Richard's lower lip. Despite this, Richard keeps smirking as if he is possessed. When the woman takes off her clothes and exposes her body, Richard feels no pleasant surprise, but is startled with absolute terror. Right after that, the tire-fixing trio witnesses this exact scene. A black sedan drives up right in front of them. Marion recognizes it at a glance as the same one from earlier. The scene is also almost identical. Richard is inside, banging on the window and crying for help. Frank snaps out of it and quickly starts the car to give chase. Right before the door closes, he sees that woman again, but Frank is too anxious to chase his son to care much about it. In the panic, Frank sees his son in the middle of the road. But because it is too loud, Frank cannot stop the car in time and runs right over Richard. By the time they run over to check, Richard is already dead. His death is equally gruesome as he is incinerated alive, giving off a faint smell of roasted meat. Frank quickly goes over to comfort Laura, saying that the dead cannot come back to life. But Laura goes completely insane at this point, even claiming that Richard is not Frank's son, but was born from her affair with the neighbor. Frank cannot think about all that right now, so he quickly stuffs Richard's body into the trunk to go report it to the police. Among the cleared-out gifts, Marion opens a long box and finds a gun inside, which she says is a gift from her mother to Uncle Mike. While the two of them are busy handling Richard's body, Laura suddenly gets her hands on the gun. After her son's death, the old woman goes completely crazy, racking the bolt and pointing the barrel directly at herself. Frank says it is very dangerous and tells her to hand the gun over to him immediately. Laura seemingly agrees on the surface, but she turns around and fires a shot at Frank, hitting his thigh.
Dad! Holy shit! The bitch shot me in the leg!
Fortunately, Marion was a psychologist with experience in similar cases, so she quickly removed the bullet from Frank's arm. Then Frank drinks while driving as he hits the road again to find that place called Marcotte. Halfway there, the mother suddenly wakes up, but she seems to still be completely out of her mind. She points at the woods outside, claiming it is her good friend Jenny. She tells Frank to quickly stop the car. Frank tells her that Jenny died 10 years ago. He tells Laura to snap out of it. Seeing that Frank won't stop the car, Laura simply opens the door and jumps out herself.
Oh my God! Dad, stop the car!
When the two of them anxiously run out of the car, they find a shoe on the ground. There is also some lipstick and other items dropped like loot. But Laura is nowhere to be seen, as if she completely vanished. Frank guesses that maybe she was captured by that woman. Just then, headlights flash in the distance. That black sedan drives over once again. Frank is thrilled to see this. He vows to blow that person's head off. He quickly turns around and goes back to the car to get the gun. But after he fires a few shots, the car reverses away. Laura also steps down from it, looking completely disheveled. This is likely a result of jumping out of the car earlier. While the two of them anxiously ask her about her condition, Laura says she is fine. She says the back of her head just hurts a little bit. Right after that, Frank sees Laura completely traumatized. Her bare brain is exposed outside, all wet and slimy. At this moment, Laura reaches around to touch the back of her head. She even rubs it a few times, looking like she thoroughly enjoys it. She rubs it while calling out her lover's name. Then she twitches, collapses to the ground, and dies. Seeing his family members die one after another, Frank cannot take it anymore and points the gun at himself. Marion notices this and rushes over to stop him, asking what she is supposed to do if he just leaves. She says they need to get out of this forest right now and find that place called Marcotte. Marion insists they must set off immediately because someone gets killed every time they stop. Frank states that since driving won't get them to Marcotte, they will stop driving and walk through the nearby forest to see if they can find a way out. Right after that, the two walk into the dense forest. Halfway through, they hear a few strange cries. The sound is very low and resembles a wolf. Frank pulls Marion along and tells her to ignore it so they can keep moving. After a short while, a wire fence appears in front of them with a light not far away. Frank guesses it must be a farm over there, so he quickens his pace and rushes over excitedly. But they quickly fall into despair once again. This is because they see their own car. Behind the woods is unexpectedly that same road. Frank and Marion find it unbelievable, wondering how they could possibly return to the starting point again. Furthermore, the headlights are off when they leave. Now, someone turns them on for some reason. Frank wonders if Laura in the back seat came back to life. He pulls back her shroud. The scene cuts as the two hit the road again. Frank writes a bucket list for himself, planning to complete everything he wants to do once they escape. He writes down 3 items. Frank looks up and suddenly spots something. He quickly tells Marion to stop the car. It turns out to be the cabin from the beginning of the story. They actually end up back here again. Marion thinks it cannot be the exact same one. She claims there are about 100 identical stations on this road. To investigate, the father and daughter walk inside. The light inside suddenly flickers and goes out. While Marion heads back to the car to grab a flashlight, her father lights a match and walks inside alone. As he fumbles around inside, a sudden gust of wind blows the match to the ground and extinguishes it. While Frank frantically tries to light a second match, the woman suddenly appears behind him.
Marion?
But when Marion bursts in, the woman vanishes and everything goes back to normal. She helps Frank back to the car. He asks where his alcohol is and why it is gone. Marion says she is afraid he will get drunk, so she throws the alcohol away while they are driving. Hearing this, the father suddenly goes crazy, as if he is possessed, and starts punching and kicking Marion until she faints. Afterward, he frantically apologizes to his daughter and carries her into the car. Just then, a sound comes from the woods. Frank turns around and sees that woman walking slowly into the deep forest. He also picks up his weapon and rushes straight over. After firing a few shots into the air like a madman, a metallic sound suddenly rings out and Frank goes completely silent. After some time passes, the unconscious Marion suddenly wakes up with a start. She panics when she finds her father is missing. Dark shadows pop up around her from time to time, wailing and howling. Marion hits the gas and speeds away to shake them off. But soon, the car sputters to a halt. Marion looks down at the dashboard and realizes the car is out of gas. She has no choice but to get out and walk down the road alone in despair. Suddenly, she steps on her father's pen. After she picks it up, a few drops of blood drip onto her face like a stream. Marion looks up and lets out a scream. She must have seen her father's corpse here. Right after that, 4 body bags appear on the ground, lined up in a row. Marion opens one of them and finds her father's pale corpse inside. The remaining 3 must be her mother, her younger brother, and her boyfriend. While Marion is crying, that familiar sedan pulls up in front of her again. Marion is terrified because every time this car appears, someone gets eliminated. As she backs up, she happens to bump into that woman. The woman tells her that this car is not for her, but for the 4 corpses on the ground and herself. After saying that, the woman gets into the car with the child and leaves. As Marion watches the car drive away, another truck arrives in front of her. Next, the scene cuts to a wrecked car smashed to pieces, which is exactly the one Frank is driving. It turns out that when Frank fell asleep while driving, he did not avoid it at all, but collided head-on with the oncoming truck. A major traffic accident occurs. 4 people die on Frank's side, while a woman and the baby in her arms die on the truck side. And the Marcotte that Frank and the others are desperately looking for is actually the doctor across from them, whose name is Marcotte. Also, the person who discovers this accident is a driver whose car is that familiar black sedan. As for why such a series of events still happens after death, there are a few explanations. The first scenario is that after people die, they enter a near-death state. It is an out-of-body experience where the soul leaves the body. The human desire to survive is also extremely strong. This is also why the place they desperately look for is actually the name of a doctor. Moreover, 7:30 is exactly when the accident happens, and they are constantly trapped in this time frame. This is because ghosts have no concept of time. The second scenario is the woman's revenge against them. Because Frank's fatigued driving causes the crash, it leads to her and her baby dying, one after another. To get revenge, the woman retaliates and begins to punish these people. The order of death for the 4 of them also has a specific meaning. Brad sits right in the middle, so when the crash happens, he is likely the first to be ejected. His body shatters the windshield and gets sliced into pieces. Richard sits on the far right. When the accident happens, Frank subconsciously swerves the steering wheel to the left. This causes the gas tank on the right side to take the hit and catch fire, so Richard naturally gets burned to a crisp. The third one to die is Laura, and then it is Frank. This is because the safety of the driver's seat is very reliable, not to mention the back seat directly behind it. After watching this movie, now you know exactly where to sit when you ride in a car, right?